don't see the
Well,
circle.
I guess because I pressed the button.
Hi, again. Got caught with my mouth open.
Oh,
Hello, everyone. We are live.
And
we're
we're already laughing.
already laughing. We're already having a fun time, and welcome. And just so everybody's sort of like used to just us two showing up, there is a third.
Hello,
And-
Dominic. Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Dominic, meet Fati.
How
Nice to
are
meet
you?
you. I'm doing
Great.
great.
I just wanted, before we get started, I just wanted, we had a little bit of a bantering and conversation prior, as we normally do prior to getting onto the show, and and Dominic brought, why Dominic?
What
Why
am
me?
I doing here?
What am I doing here? So there's a couple of things. So part of the introduction to Dominic, I've known Dominic for probably maybe close to a couple of years, over a year anyways, over a year. And we met through various coaching forums and things like that. And you were graciously part of my guest in a marathon I did last year in June, and just laugh a minute. But Fati was going through some extra training and accreditation, and she was curious about the ICF, and you're a master coach. You're an award-winning master coach with the ICF, and I said, I know this guy. And and if you want to, I can kind of connect you with that. And then life carries on, and we were having all these other discussions around the law of attraction and how can we manifest or create more clientele and attraction towards our businesses and things like that. And I said, I know a guy. And you have and you can share a little bit about that connection, but you have I know you have been having direct conversations with Esther Hicks, and so there's something there. And then Fati and I were having a discussion a few weeks ago around this feeling of how we outgrow people around us, it seems, as we are leveling or increasing our level of understanding and growing. There seems to be this separation happening and a disconnect, like outgrowing. Is it possible that we can outgrow people? And we had our own little discussion. I said, I know a guy that we can probably have a really good discussion about that. And so I contacted you and I said, I shared the idea, and he said, well, that sounds really, really good. And of course, as these out of the blue ideas pop up, I said, it occurred to me, I said, nobody gets me. Bottom line, nobody gets me. And so anyway, welcome, Dominic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Bit of a strange, maybe not your traditional type of introduction, but I am. I can probably speak for Fati. We're both thrilled to have you here. So welcome.
Great.
Welcome.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got a chance to listen to some prior sessions, and these are fun. I love how casual they are, and love where you've taken them in various directions. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Non-traditional, as Rick just said.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't want to be scripted in the sense, but I mean, we do have a particular topic today, and of course, we can start there and go places. But I'm just curious: is there anything where you want to or say before we sort of get going? Or
Yeah, let's dive in. Let's just dive in, get engaged in something, and it'll move about. I'm sure. Yeah.
So we have a few people that are joining us through the live streaming services. So I encourage people to say hello. Just type into this chat section, just so we know we're there. That you're not just a number to us. And feel free during our discussion, if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear them, and we will probably display them on on the screen. Paul, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Adina.
Paul's from the UK, and Adina locally here on the island. Thanks, Adina.
Great.
So, you know what? Well, Fati, I know you had the biggest sort of insight around this idea.
This is my big question,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So go for it.
So I really always tread lightly in saying that you outgrow people, right? Because I don't believe that none of us is above anybody else really ever. We're just, we outgrow people in certain areas of our lives, and we may not be on the same level in other areas of our lives. And at the same time, as you continue to do inner work and self-development work on yourself and like evolve as a person, if others around you are not doing the same, you find yourself and your relationships feeling different and not fitting in the same way they fit before. And I found in my experience that with some people, it was more about adjusting the relationship to really focusing on those areas where I felt like I still felt fed by the relationship. It was still aligned with me, and really not focus on the parts that didn't feel aligned, that were not, down the same wavelength or where I was at, right? At the same time, there are people in my life that I felt like I just couldn't make that connection with. I still feel that way, right? And it has triggered, like it's been, like now it's very simplified as I say it, but it's been a bit of a journey getting to this understanding, right? Just throughout doing a lot of self-development, really accepting the fact that everyone is exactly where they are, where they're meant to be and where they can be, right? And the desire that I have for them to change is my own and not theirs, right? And so really accepting that. And that was the first step, I would say. And as I released that, just really learning to be with them and enjoy what they can give me and what I still find, attractive in the relationship, right? But as I go on and I move forward and things open up, right? So 2 years of COVID kind of kept us a little bit in a bubble, right? Where we could connect with anyone everywhere in the world. But as things open up in my life and I go out there and I connect with people, I go to events and I meet people, I often found myself feeling, I don't know why I was there. That didn't align with me. That's not something I enjoy doing anymore, right? And so I was left with this dilemma, like, do I just stop seeing all these people, right? So then I chose to like really focus on the fact that these are people that, I love, that have been in my life. I took it as an opportunity to just connect and see how they're doing and catch up, right? And at the same time, I am realistic about the fact that that's not enough for me, right? I feel like I need my own tribe. I need people that are like on the same wavelength with the same interests at the very least that I have. And so in a sense, that kind of prompted a lot of thinking around that and prompted me to kind of say to myself, well, then it's time for you to take action and create that for yourself. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I want to hear from you what your thoughts are around this.
No pressure. No pressure.
Let's see. There's first of all, that I mean, that sounds, completely something that I think many people are going to resonate with. I certainly resonated with the whole experience of that. So there's something human about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if we, I always like, in any conversation is with starting points of what's true, what are some principles that are actually true in them. And then from there, we can see like what unfolds. So I think some of us, or maybe some of the listeners or whatever, may be familiar with the teachings of Sydney Banks and three principles, maybe, but in either case. So Sydney Banks spoke about, pointed to how we each live in our own realities. And he's not the only person to speak like that. You talked about, my understanding in law of attraction, and certainly the teachings of Abraham Hicks. And Abraham will often speak to how there is not one other person that shares your perspective. So that part of, we are each a unique expression of the universe, of the energy of all things. We are a unique expression. So right there, to even just to know and understand that there is not one other person that will ever see or something exactly from your perspective. You are a unique perspective, unique thinking, unique history. So even understanding that, you might see Nobody Gets Me. That's the title of this, Nobody Gets Me. Well, of course nobody gets you. No one could get you, right? So that, even just that statement, complaint, whatever it is, you can give that up. That's just true, will always be true, forever be true. That from my perspective, no one will ever see this from this perspective, which is, by the way, not a bad thing. This is our gift and contribution to each other. It's why we're here in our diversity. There is so much value in our diversity, in the variety that we're bringing into anything, so long as we don't start resisting that and pushing against it and making it wrong and protesting it. Right? That's the part that'll get us into trouble. But a simple understanding that is the way it is, when we are, because as we are physically focused in this finite perspective, there is not one other in the same place. And the paradox of that is, but the truth is we are all one. So if you kind of back up into the energy that is who we really are, that source energy, the truth is we are all one in unique, beautifully unique perspectives. So anyway, that as a principle, I think, is an important thing to include in this conversation. Yeah, it can kind of lighten a bit about the nobody gets me.
It's very, very true. That is kind of, our individuality is what makes us special. It's our superpower. But we often try to dim that down to be like everybody else. Isn't that a paradox too? Right?
Well,
that's a very important. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
All I was going to ask is or mention. We either do that, right? We either, like, I'm not sure if you said dummy down or diminish.
Dim it.
Sorry.
Okay. No dummy down.
No dummy. Okay. So, sorry. I don't want to offend anybody, but we tend to sort of downplay more, right? Thinking that we are aligning or doing some kind of service to others by doing so, or do we leave? Like, I almost seems like, I don't know. Sometimes I have that impression that I either, like you related to earlier, Fati, about the uncomfortableness of the differences, the feeling of the differences.
I'm feeling not understood. I'm feeling that the conversations are not, I'm not interested in them the way, or like, as a coach, I think it's a challenge when I hear someone in that negative spiral, and I'm just listening, trying to be there with the person, and at the same time reminding myself, I'm not coaching this person. It's her journey. Just listen. That's all you can do. But it wasn't always that simple. Like now I can just do it and kind of give myself reminders. But I think at the beginning, when I first started getting into this field, like I just wanted to go out there and fix everyone because things just stuck out to me, right? I just hear them because this is what I do, right? So I found balance in that, right? And at the same time, I found that I also isolated myself a lot in the name of really spending time with myself and going inwards. That's something that's really meaningful to me. Actually, I make time for it every week. Yeah, I am a single parent of 2 children. Like, I don't often get time for myself. It's a very healing and important thing for myself. But like you always say, Rick, an overused strength can become a weakness, right? And I realized that I responded to the discomfort of these social interactions not feeling like they fit me the way they did before by just retrieving into myself, by just going within and avoiding social interaction. And every time that I did, and I do still push myself, that I'm like left with some thinking around, well, was that really worth my time? And then I catch myself and I catch the judgment there, right? And I remind myself that that time was spent with this person because that person means something to me. And it was an opportunity to just listen to what's going on in their lives, right? And at the same time, recognizing that I do also have the need to feed myself in a way that feels more aligned, that feels like it is feeding me. It is that I can talk to someone that I can learn from. I can talk to someone that understands what I'm talking about, frankly, right? Because we talk about all this stuff and we're all, on the same page because we speak the same language, but the average person doesn't, right? And so I realized and recognized that it's not about them fixing or changing. It's about me really going and interacting with people in my life. So outside of my professional setting, that can give me that I can learn from, that have common interests as I do, right? So yeah, it's been a little bit of I've been working. It's currently happening for me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that I know that this is something that most people feel, right? And it's not just in the terms that I've put it. I mean, growing up, I felt like nobody got me, right? And now I'm an adult and I've done all this work on myself. And I guess there was a little bit of a surprise there. I've done all this work on myself and I have all this understanding of how life works and how my mind creates my reality and all this stuff. And I still feel like nobody gets me. And I love what Dominic, spoke to, because it's so true. No one ever will.
There's something of relief in that, isn't there?
Right? Yeah.
Because the very attempt to have you get me can create a disconnection within myself, a disharmony within myself. It's kind of that's not your job, right? So it's not my job, nor is that a useful focus for me. Is I want you to get me and I want you to get me. I want a lot of people to get me, because if that happens, then I can feel good. And so what my job is there's only one person, not it's wrong way, being to get me. And that is who I really am, my own inner being. And that's the question. How do I feel in alignment with who I really am? Only one relationship is important, and that is the relationship between me and me. The relationship from this finite perspective with all that I am. Is there a harmony in that? Am I feeling in alignment with that? That really is my only business. Is that? It's the only thing I have any kind of ability to move about within. It's certainly the only thing I could ever know for sure whether I am in alignment, out of alignment in any particular moment. So, and then later, as we'll talk, the rest sorts itself out. We can talk about law of attraction and energy, but you really don't need to pay any attention to any of that. So in other words, well, okay, so I am aligned. I feel really aligned within myself. I'm great here, right? So should then I step away from those situations? Should I get out of that toxic scenario over there? Should I go to my tribe and away from this? Okay, you're overthinking it. there's no need. There's no need to have to engineer all this stuff. There's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you've got to strategize or figure out. Because if you understand from a law of attraction perspective, who you are is this energy, and an energy is a frequency and a vibration. And as you align, you have a vibration. You are always emitting a vibration. Actually, even if you're misaligned, you are emitting a vibration, right? And that vibration is calling toward you. It is resonating with. So law of attraction, as Abraham Hicks defines and says it, is that which is like unto itself is drawn. That which is like unto itself is drawn. So, and law of attraction's always on, always working. It is always matching energies. It actually could never not do it. You could never have incompatible frequencies together. They would repel, right? And there's only attraction. It is a universe only of attraction. And so you couldn't have an incompatibility. So a repelling would happen, a movement about would happen. It's not anything we need to do. You would suddenly start seeing distancing communities and people, distancing who you used to talk to on a regular basis is becoming less and less frequent without you doing anything. Right?
It's a really good way to put it. I love it. It's instead of feeling rejected, realize that your energies are just not aligned and are not attracting each other, right?
Yeah.
They're not the same vibration.
So Dina brought in a comment about there's a lot of negativity in a conversation with people who aren't in personal development. But when you're saying that the vibration or the attraction, right? The fact that you're noticing negativity in a conversation, what does that tell him? What is that saying? Like,
oh my God, yeah, that's so funny, right? because if you really look from a law of attraction perspective, you say, oh man, I can't stand my workplace. People there are so negative. You know.
Yes, yeah.
Right. When you really understand it, you sort of start to see that you cannot experience anything to which you are not a match to. You cannot experience anything. Adina's laughing.
Oh, I'm laughing too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you can't experience anything you're not a match to in this moment. And so when what you are experiencing, you are thinking and you are vibrating with. And it's kind of like we've seen this. If you're in a lineup at the grocery store, and that cashier, right, is so the cashier's there and he's being rude, right, to that person and the next person, right? And then it gets to you, and this cashier is like completely polite and laughing and all of that. And what's going on is, you were in a very different place and vibration. What you have done is you have matched up to those qualities within him, because these other qualities are just not compatible. So it's okay to be rude with this one and that one, and short-tempered and impatient. But the minute you show up, the energy's all different. And so what I was doing before is no longer appropriate. So suddenly the cashier with you, it's evoking something different. So even individually, what's happening with the people we know and all of that, and then even in groups.
It's fascinating, and it's always something that I keep, like, when I notice, right? When I notice that there's a rub between the rails, is kind of how I describe it, I guess, where my circumstances don't seem to be matching up to my expectations or by what I think are my desires. That geez, I totally thought, like, pew! Did you guys catch any of that? Because it just like
So I think maybe I know a little bit what you're talking about, because you and I, are so connected. Our energies are matched. Like, no. So here's what's come up for me. I completely understand what you're saying, and I don't. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dominic. I don't believe that what he's saying is that just the act of noticing means that you are that vibration. I would think that if you're triggered by it, then you got it, right? If you're triggered by, or if you recognize it because you've had it, right? It bounces off of me now, but it used to either trigger me when I first started doing this work. And before that, I just fed it, right? I just fed into that energy because that was my energy. So if you feed into it, I believe very much that that's the energy that you're in. But also what I'm hearing from Dominic, and again, please feel free to correct me, is that everyone has different levels to them of energy or parts of them, right? And you're matching up those parts, right?
Very good.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting, because I know enough about myself now to know that I'm not matching up with some of that negativity that some of my friends are going through. And yes, and of course they see me as someone that really listens well and can help them see things a little differently. So they do come to me and talk to me about things that they're having challenges with, right? But it does not trigger me. It doesn't bother me in that sense. I just notice it. And I know exactly what this person needs to work on and all that stuff. And that's professional. It's just the profession that we're in. But what I heard him say with the cashier example is that part of her matched up his energy. And the other parts of her that were more on that negative vibration matched up the other people.
And I think Dina made a comment, which kind of what I was relating to, and kind of lost that train a bit, got derailed. Was yes, I noticed that there's activity going on at the cashier's level. Like I'm noticing there are things that appear to me in sort of like in a negative or whatever I'm making meaning of. And what she was saying is when I show up, if I am experiencing something different, right? And Fati, I like what you said about if it irks me or angsts me or makes a friction about it, or then I always considered it the onus on me, pointing back, what am I doing that's contributing to that? Like what because the only reason why I know there's something not aligned or in that sense is the ucky feeling that comes with it. If that makes any particular,
it's a familiar feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if we play both for individuals and larger groups.
Yeah.
So the cashier that we talked about, or any individual, you could have, a relative or a friend, right? So who they really are contains all kinds of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Who they really are is the possibility and potential of the entire universe. So the frequencies and possibilities within them are enormous, right? So, and this is the case with everyone. So that person has the possibility of tremendous generosity and tremendous humor and laughter and tremendous ability to be worried and anxious, and all kinds of possibilities and energies are there. And so how will the two of you meet up today? That's curious, right? So how will the two of you meet up today? And when you go into work, this is a workplace that has a mix of participants in it, right? So if you took law of attraction overall and you say, well, hang on a second, it's no accident that you are working in this workplace at this time, roughly, this period with this mix of people. Like, you weren't there 5 years ago, but now you are, right? So that's one thing about it, is you want to get curious about it. Interesting that I'm here. Interesting that I'm here in this environment. I wonder what's this, no accidents. So there's some matching going on. Now, I am here and there's a mix in here, but in any workplace, there is, a look of there's nothing but problems and mistakes and all kinds of stuff is going wrong. And there's all sorts of opportunities and possibilities for creating things and solutions and all sorts of stuff. And it's sort of like, okay, so how'd you show up this morning? Because all the possibilities are there, right? In every moment. And how'd you show up? Oh, this is horrible. This place is like always like this. It's like, is it really? That's kind of how you showed up this morning. No wonder you look around, right? And all you can perceive. This is why we are each creating our own reality, because all that we can in this moment experience is what we are thinking. It is the channel that we are on. It is our frequency, and that is the only thing. And meanwhile, the rest of it exists here. This is a place full of opportunity and all kinds of possibilities and ways of contributing. You can't see any of that right now, right? Not right now, you can't. So that something about that.
You're not tuned into it, right?
Yeah, you're not tuned. And so what do you do? So this kind of gets to, so what do you do? Well, I'm leaving. I'm going to quit this place, right? And well, that's good. Only problem is you're going to leave with yourself. So I'm quitting because I don't like what's going on. Well, let me maintain this vibration and protest that, right? And as I leave in this same place, I end up in the next place, right? Which very shortly, I had a friend who I remember, it went on for years, like over more than a decade. It was fascinating what his boss was like. Just a real jerk. And what it was like, except there were 6 of them over the course of the time. But I couldn't keep track of whether it was, wait a minute, was that John? Oh, no, John, that's 2 bosses ago. No, I'm talking about Mary. Oh, but the way you described it, I thought it was John. Right? And anyway, so it went on over time, but the description never changed. But the boss did several times. There were a bunch of them in there, but it's the same description.
So I don't know. So if this might be a little deep, I don't know. We'll go anyways.
We can go deep.
We'll go deep. So what you're pointing to, it appears to me, is the responsibility we each have in that experience, in creating what that is in that moment. And I remember studying. I'll probably mispronounce it because I normally do. Ho'oponopono.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
Hawaiian.
the Hawaiian thing, and part of the prayer is any time that is happening. Okay, they're asked that you silently do this mantra or prayer about asking for forgiveness, and and basically it's like, please forgive me, I love you, and that kind of thing. But it almost seems like, because I created that in you, right, I have to hold some responsibility in that, and and I'm sorry that it came
Yeah,
out that way.
yeah. I'm sorry is in that same. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love
Yeah,
you, like that in
yeah,
that prayer. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. If we take that word responsibility
yeah.
and let's just play a little bit with this. Some people get all freaked out if you put that word in, right? Responsibility. But let's look at it from, I have to take responsibility. Let's just change a little bit. I need to understand what's true and how things work.
Yeah.
Because if I understand that I am always matching with where I'm at, that what I'm experiencing is what I'm thinking in this moment, right? So even if you don't want to get to a responsibility part, but it's sort of like, it might be like this. I walk by the mirror and it looks a certain way. Well, I've got to take responsibility for that. It's like, sort of, but it's just like the way it works.
It's just what is. It's just what is. Yeah.
It's
This
just
is
how
who you.
this thing
Yeah.
works. That's all,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, we can be even lighter about it and just realizing, because then you don't have to freak out about it. And because just to avoid this whole guilt thing, like I did something wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As what Fati said, is that you only understand, like, it's really like understanding what, yeah, it's just a matching. Like, it's not about feeling like, I don't know, you did something or they did something, or yeah.
I mean, I think another good way to kind of reframe that, and I get what Rick is saying with responsibility. I think that there could be a better word. It's more about what other word could we use that empowers you to feel that you can change that, right? Because we are creating that. I mean, the bottom line of what you're saying is your reality is matching what you have created in here, right? And sometimes we're conscious of those thoughts and sometimes we're not, right? And so I always look at this. I used to actually, I think you both pointed to the same thing. I used to actually take responsibility and then feel guilty, right? To the point that it started feeling that judge inside of me, right? And then I started turning it around and I started playing with it as, what if that's just showing me where the next step in this inner work that I'm doing is? What if I just look at it? It's just a sign pointing at something that needs to be looked at. And there's always something underneath that, right? That is an emotion, an experience, trauma, whatever it is that's there, dormant, or it's subconscious, that's just there, that's driving our decisions. It's creating the emotions that drive our actions and behaviors or habits, right? And so I kind of reframed it for myself as, you know what, thank you. Now I know where to look. This is the next thing that I need to be looking at and like be curious about.
That's very well said. That really resonates, because see, that's when you look, like, that's really true. Because
Mm-hmm.
when, in other words, and Abraham talks about this way, is like, you are never more clear of what you want than in this moment of knowing what you do not want. Right? It's this is not the environment that's for me. This is so negative, whatever. Well, that level of clarity and the way we focus is on I do not want this, which is in a resistance or a protest to it. But in the manifested world, you cannot know what you do not want without there being a what is wanted instead visible. But the way we're doing, the way we're interacting with it is we are staring in the face what we do not want. And of course, what we want instead is right behind us. And so it takes, you've got to turn to look. But our resistance most of the time is, no, I want to tell you what's wrong with this place. Let me give you the list. Will you listen to me for a minute? It's not about me. Let me tell you, right? And this is what you said, Fati, about when you're coaching or you're listening, right, to people. And you can hear, oh my God, this is so not helpful. Meaning this is so not helpful for you, the person speaking. Because when you're speaking and you're saying, let me tell you what's wrong with this place and what they're like and what they do when I come in and why, right? And what you're noticing is, okay, if you would only quiet down for a minute and turn around and use this information that's now so clear for you into starting to discover what it is that you want, what is now clear to you that you actually want instead. Oh, I want collaboration and supportive environment, and I want people okay, so let's start talking about that. Let's start thinking about that. Let's start harmonizing with that to attract that.
Yeah, instead of rehearsing, because often I notice, like with friends that I'm friends with, that I see, regularly, it's a different version of the same story. Like, yes, I'm thinking, yes, she's just giving me a different version of the same story today, yes, than the one I received a couple of weeks ago. And only if she could turn around and really check in with herself and where she could show up differently, then she would. Yes. That's a key. That's a key out of that, right?
And to your point, it was like there were 6 with that friend. There were 6 bosses, except it was all the same boss,
same
right?
Story.
All in different variations. At any point in that, had the person shifted, and by the way, it's kind of cool to watch because I've known them for a while. They have shifted. So they have shifted. And it was like a miracle watching how suddenly new boss, different way of being, different. And then since then, how all these bosses have been really great and really supportive and really understanding. And there's now been more than one of these, right? But at any point with a shift, that those bosses could have changed. I sometimes I'll talk to leaders when I'm coaching them around where, my boss is a micromanager. My boss is a micromanager, right? Like, I don't want that, right? And this is like where Rick was talking about a bit like responsibility and all of that is sort of like, okay, well, you can be someone who will not be micromanaged. Mm-hmm. But right now, who you're being is one who needs to be micromanaged, or one who, that was painful. Okay, but who you are being is a match to micromanagement. You are tolerating, you are dancing with it, you are inviting more micromanagement, like that. And so, like, to your point, this is good information. It's good information. I don't want this. I don't like this. This is not who I want to be. And perfect. Then you can alter that. You can tune to what you want to be. You can tune to that way of being that because it's in you. It's possible, right?
So rather than sort of, and I love how it feels responsibility, how that word kind of feels. Is it more like Stephen Covey was talking about being more response able?
Oh, that's nice.
I like that.
And empowered.
Yeah.
Right? You are responsible. You are empowered. You have the freedom to be different.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So yes, you're micromanaged, and you know who you are being is a match to that, and you have the freedom to be anything. That state of being is not fixed, and you are not stuck here, right? So it's a freedom of being, and so when you don't like that, shift, right?
Yeah. So that sounds very simple.
I was just thinking, so simple, isn't it? And we would all be out of work.
Well, that's why we're here, right? It's sort of like, it's like
a little bit of behind the scenes of what coaches really think. Because it's certainly not delivered this way when you're coaching someone, but this is truly what it is. We're giving it to you as is.
Yeah, my coaching has the same kind of humor in it.
Yeah.
We're always poking fun at things and laughing. Because it is funny. We really are funny, right? Mm-hmm. We really are funny, right? So it's that's just.
But I find that clients, once they start catching them, once, obviously we model in redirecting them in thinking in this way, right? In our coaching, really focusing on what they do want to create and all this stuff. And after a while, I noticed that they catch themselves, and it only takes like a look and we're both laughing. It's like, I did it again, didn't I? Yep. And you caught yourself. So that's improvement. You have improved because now you can do it for yourself. You don't even need me to tell you. So, I mean, it seems impossible at first, right? When you're not used to doing this kind of work, but the more you do it, even the smallest steps count, because they really gear you up to take bigger steps, and they get you used to doing it. But once you do catch yourself, and there is humor in it, you can laugh at yourself instead of being triggered or feeling less than or feeling that you're not enough, right? You now can laugh about it. Oh, look, I'm back in the rabbit hole, or like I'm in the loop, I'm doing it again. And I catch myself too. I mean, I do this for a living, and I have places, and Rick knows that, the moments where I just show up, I'm in the rabbit hole. I need help.
But
so that makes you like the rest of us, does it?
Yes, the rest of us, 100%.
And what I love what you said with the clients, because and it's the same with us, right? It's once we see differently, then everything changes. And of course, you don't need anybody. They're simple things, right? Like once you see how it works, what's really cool about this stuff is because it always works that way. It's always true, right? So a client, like, for example, is like, we are always moving in the direction we're looking. Mm-hmm. We're always moving in the direction we're looking is where we're focused on. We are moving toward that, right? And so when you start to realize that, and it becomes like well, I don't get it. Why am I always in these situations? Or why is my boss like that? Or why do I have these situations in work happening? And just like, well, you'll always move in the direction you look. You'll always move toward what you're focused on. Well, when you start to get that, it makes sense to look where you want to go. That just... You're driving a car and there's no steering wheel. Let's as a metaphor. You drive a car, it's new, it's great, it's the latest, and there's no steering wheel. And the way it works is it moves with your attention. Mm-hmm. It just moves with your attention. And so as you look over there, that's where it goes. Now, it takes a bit of getting used to, because when you get into it, you go, what the hell is wrong with this car? It's all over the road, right? But it won't take you long. Once you see how this works, and it never works differently, it never does other than that. It only goes where your attention goes. That's where it goes. Well, that doesn't take very long. Once you drive that for a little while, you will be looking where you want to go. You will be looking.
I love this. I love this. I love
Yeah,
how you.
that's a great
Yeah,
analogy. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
yeah.
So, go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, like, it's, some of the conversations I get back is that they tend to look at a big shift, right? Like because what they've created is this thing, like this big block, and they think that it needs massive action also to turn the ship. And I started thinking about, I ended up getting a keyboard the other day, because I want to learn the piano. And as much as I want to start playing, Piano Man, right? There's some basics I have to take care of first. And I think you guys are kind of pointing towards, like, with with the car thing is the basics is the understanding and experiencing, not just intellectually, but experiencing what is actually happening in front of you in baby steps. You don't, like, we're not expecting you to drive across the country right away in this brand new fancy car.
Right. Yeah.
Without a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Without a steering wheel. Oh my God. Right. but you'd get, the word maybe for this becomes, because you got to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
You need to get a feel for it. It's in the feeling. And so so that's the part. So after you do all these scales and you learn to do the piano and all that stuff, but then to play Piano Man and really sound great in it, right? Do you have the feel for it now? Do you get, like, and because can you get, like, if you really hit those keys, can you tell the difference of what the way the sound's going to come, and rather than the other, and how much weight to use? I don't know how you teach it. It's, you need the feel of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's the art, right? This sort of
art. Yes.
Art of living, this, masterful, right, way of living.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of how I know for the last week I've been sharing with Fati a bit about, I've been talking about this riding in between the rails, and I've been using that as an analogy of this particular path. And on a train, the way we keep in track is that it has flanges, right? But as it's rolling, there's a lot of sweet spots. Like it doesn't stay on the track. It actually kind of floats along. It's not until it gets to the edge where it's sort of like, oh, I have to. And I've been using, that the noticing and the feelings part as,
Yeah, nice.
So true. Yeah.
And that's the finessing, right? And not adding a lot of meaning towards, oh, I'm on the rails, I got to do something about it, I got to find a different track, I got to, right,
nice. Yeah.
And just see it and move away.
Just like
get the sign, get the signal, move away. Yeah.
Well, that's really beautiful metaphor too, because that would be like that you're not making yourself wrong for hitting these. In fact, it's useful. Isn't it great that you hit this resistance on each side?
Absolutely.
Like, you have such clarity of what you do not want in that situation. So, but it's not like you make yourself wrong for being in it, or make them wrong for being like that. Bless them for the clarity that's been provided, right? They played with you in this. You showed up with an energy you didn't even know was within you. And they brought that to life in a way that you could see it now so clearly. So don't make yourself wrong, and certainly don't make them wrong. They were cooperative with you.
Yeah. They played a part.
They played a part. Were it not
Yeah.
for them, would you even ever know this? Right? So you show up in that vibration and that energy, and each of them played their part. And each of them vibrantly began interacting with you in this way that you do not want. Well, mirror, mirror, mirror in
On the
there.
wall.
How much more clear could you get? Right?
Yeah.
And yet how much people don't see that reflection.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's okay. Because here's the thing. To Rick's point, it's all you'll get a feel for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it begins subtle. Your wisdom,
it's nudge. Yeah.
your wisdom is a whisper. It's never changes, right? It's a whisper. It's, God speaks to us evenly, not in an excited tone, with wisdom. It's wisdom. And here's the thing, and that wisdom continues, right? It's a flow. It's an energy you can never disconnect from. When you don't pick it up and you move away, so in misalignment, I'm gonna change something just to get along with them, right? So you're going against what you know, but it's just a little thing. I mean, you have to accommodate, and so I'm just gonna change things, and it's like, so now it's worse. So now I'm more misaligned, right? But it's okay, and I do. It's important that we be compatible, and we should bring harmony everywhere, and like that. So I'm justifying and I'm rationalizing my disconnection and my own disharmony, and I'm trying to paste over it with some nice words and really showing that I'm a good person anyway, right? As I get myself more and more disconnected with the truth within me, right? Just keep altering. But here's the thing. When you don't pick this up, because you can't feel it, you can't feel that friction, the flange part, you don't feel it, right? Don't worry. It'll get worse, right? Don't worry. Don't worry. It'll get worse. Law of attraction will ensure it.
Yeah.
Law of attraction takes the current vibration and makes it more and makes it more and makes it more. So here you are, slightly disconnected, a little bit disharmonious with what my own wisdom tells me. That's okay. Don't worry. It'll get worse, right? And so it will take you further and further. And what it's doing every step of the way is it's really, the question is, do you hear it now? No, I don't. Don't worry, it'll get worse. Can you hear it now? Don't worry, it'll become worse. Can you hear it now? Is it clear to you now, right? At some point, you're going to get it and hear the other direction. So mastery is, how soon does that happen? It would be like you were riding a bike trying to achieve balance and you're wobbling all over the place because you're just not good at it. As you get better and better, you're going to look so smooth. You never actually fall over. You just kind of like just moving a little bit subtly because your feeling is so much more fine-tuned.
Yeah.
I love the way you put that. I typically describe that as hitting walls. How many more walls do you need to hit to learn that lesson? But that's a much gentler way to describe it. I love it. I love the way you describe that. So I'm curious about something. I know we're getting close to the end, but I cannot let you go without asking this question. Because when people hear law of attraction, we all think about one thing, money. Why doesn't law of attraction work for a lot of people, right? That's something that I feel like I hear so much, that they can manifest all sorts of things but money. What would you say to that?
Well, that's I think a great example, given where we went in the conversation around that when you're giving attention to something, you can't be sure what you're giving the attention to other than in the feeling, right? So in other words, money. I want more money. What does that mean? Well, because it's freedom. It's a sense of abundance. It's a sense of but what I really want is a state of being. I really want to be more of who I am. I want to express more of who I am. Well, what would that mean? Well, I could do the things I want. I would be more self-expressed. I would be bold in what I say. Oh, well, you could do that. Well, no, I can't, because I need money. If I had money, right, then I could be. Well, it doesn't work that way now, because you've set up a condition now, interfering, like a thought, in interference with a state of being. And a state of being has no conditions. It requires nothing in order to be. There is nothing you require in order to be, right? So, but here's the deal. What you start to do is that on something like manifesting money, mostly where you're coming from, often on that subject, is I don't have enough.
Lack.
Yeah.
Right. What's your goal? Well, I want to build my business to this point. Oh, that's cool. So that would be great. So, but when we look at the source, the essence of the thought, the idea about I want to build my business to this, oftentimes will come with, because this is not enough. There was a lack here. And so this more money is actually a reaction to not enough. Well, so Abraham says this, I love the way they say it. You get the essence of what you're thinking about. You get the essence of what you think about, whether you want it or not. You get the essence of what you think about, whether you want it or not. Those in three principles. Essence is a formless energy, an energy without form. It is before the form. And so formless expresses into manifestation. You will get that essence, that energy expressed into form, whether you want it or not. So if what you're harmonized with is the lack and scarcity around here, which I want to fix, and my fix is going to be when I get money, right? That idea of money means just my even goal about it, my visioning about it, everything about it is at its essence is a harmony with scarcity. And law of attraction does not listen to your words. It is not looking at your vision board. It is not listening to anything you say. It doesn't even speak English.
Let that sink in, everyone.
Right? Law of attraction is only a law of energy. And so if the essence is one of scarcity, you can expect scarcity. And when you are not certain where your energy is, a good place to look is in the manifestations.
Yes, look in the, yeah.
Just look out into the mirror.
If it's not coming.
Look into the mirror, into the manifested world, right? And there is a lot of lack and not a lot of people have money and many are struggling, right? That will give you a sense of where that essence is within you that you are currently matched to. Yes, what you're looking. This is the direction you are looking. You are moving in the direction you are looking.
Ooh.
I'm talking a good talk about money. I want money. I want $1 million. I got big goals, big visions, but no one's listening. The universe isn't listening to these words. It is always responding to vibration. It is where your being state is at. So
I often also notice people that may have the money, but they live as if they don't. And I know that's probably a different conversation, but like they just can't even let it be in their lives when they have it. They just have to put it away and keep it, right? I've really noticed that in a lot of people, they live in lack and they always want more money, but it's like, well, wait a minute, like, doesn't sound like you're doing so bad, but they live as if they don't have any.
Notice how the manifestation can never alter the state of being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This only works in one direction. It only works from formless, the spiritual nature expressing into form. Only works in one direction, right? So you cannot put and pile up a ton of money so that you can be in a state of being of abundance and freedom and self-expressed. No matter how much you pile up, you will never be in that state because it does not work in reverse. Nothing outside of you can make you be or achieve a state of being inside of you. It happens from the inside and expresses out. The mirror is expressing in one direction, right? It's expressing.
Yeah. No, it's powerful. And that was one of the, for me, it took me a long time to get my head wrapped around that. It just, kind of a thing, like, it's like, I want to know where I am. Well, just look around. There you are, right? This is what's happening. Okay. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Dominic.
Amazing, yes.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I've been holding this comment back because I think it's so perfect for now. Is you are truly special, and I am happy to call you my friend, and you do provide a lot of clarity, and you're always in service. And yes, please check Dominic out. And I like how you would. I asked, well, what would you like me to have people point to? I said, they'll find me. You don't have to worry about it.
Right? It's his name and his last name. That's how I found him.
Yeah.
Google.
No. Any last comments or Dominic?
This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate how practical we made it with real examples and all of that. This stuff is so practical, and I know that sometimes in these sorts of explorations, they can be theoretical or not, to do with anything practical and real and all of that. But for me, this is just, spirituality or any of this kind of stuff. There's nothing more practical than that.
Yeah.
Because it's indivisible. You can't be looking at one without the other. It's indivisible. It's the thing in its expression. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Anybody that's going to catch the recording later, Dominic's contact information will be in the description. And please, put a comment in there, even though you are watching the recording. We always get it back later. And if there's anything that we need to point towards Dominic, I know where he lives. He lives in this. I always thought
I don't know how that came across, Rick. I know where he lives.
No, what I meant was like between you two, New York and Toronto are both centers of the universe, right?
I'm glad you know that. I'm glad you know that. That's great.
And we're just a bunch of hippies back in the West here. So
I don't know. I could be a hippie too.
I know you can. Anyway, hey, thanks very much, guys. What a blast. Thank you. And
it was so awesome. And you know what? We're looking forward to having you back, Dominic.
That would be fun. Well, this was so much fun. Of course, I'll be back.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thrilled to be back.
I have to. So we're gonna freeze.